Welcome into the Lucas podcast. Lucas, Frankel, Mike Lucas here with you on a Tuesday evening. The Yankees are a joke. This is one of the most helpless teams I think of our lifetime. Like if you had told me even in April or March that the starting outfield of a Subway Series game against the Mets would be Jake Bauers, Billy McKinney, and Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, I would have left the room and said you might as well just forfeit the game. And this is what the Yankees are running out there against the New York Mets in a nationally televised Subway Series game. Let me repeat that again. Here are the outfielders for the Yankees in a Subway Series game against the New York Mets: Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, Billy McKinney, and Jake Bauers. I mean, are you kidding me? This is an absolute disgrace. It's Aaron Judge seems like he's going to be out for the year with his toe injury, and Severino is complete. It's just everything that could go wrong has gone wrong for this team. I'm freaking annoyed, and it's just disgraceful. No one's hitting, and they're going to lose this game here on Tuesday, and the season's over.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to go complete doomsday like you, Frank, but baseball, more than any other sport, leaves you feeling hopeless unlike any other. In a span of a week, you can lose three guys. Aaron Judge was playing as well as anyone in baseball, living up to every dollar of that massive contract he signed and then some. And then all of a sudden he's out with an injury. You have guys like Rizzo and other guys in the lineup who are proven veteran players and proven hitters in this league who can't hit. And I'm in Cleveland. We've looked at it for the first 50 games of the year up here. Andres Gimenez was a 7-WAR guy last year, finished 6th in the MVP voting. He was barely batting over 200. Jose Ramirez is a career 294 hitter. He was barely batting over 250. Baseball is the one sport where, for whatever reason, the best players in the world at their given positions, these unbelievable athletes with hand-eye coordination that we couldn't dream of, all of a sudden suck for a couple months. And they get scorching hot, and at the end of the year, their numbers even out, and they look like they were the same player they were, when in reality, they were two different players in the same season. Baseball makes no sense. That's why it's damn near impossible to predict year to year. And that's why teams like the Rays or the Guardians in some cases, but really the Rays, can flip their roster every year and still be good, because no one, even the best players in the league, are very consistent. Very few guys in baseball are consistent, Frank, at the plate. Pitchers, different story. But hitters, so inconsistent year to year, month to month, homestand to homestand. And we are seeing now with the Yankees, between injuries and guys just not performing to the level that we've grown accustomed to and they're being paid to perform at, they're in shambles. And they're rolling on an outfield tonight that might as well be the Emerson Lions outfield, with the names of people who know and don't know. Like, you could tell me those three guys were Emerson starting three outfielders, and I think the casual baseball fan would be like, yeah, well, it's definitely not the Yankees. Maybe it is Emerson College. But guess what? It's the freaking Yankees in a Subway Series game.
Yeah, it's an absolute disgrace, and I'm at a loss for words here. The Mets looks like they already got a couple guys on here at the bottom of the third inning, currently leading 4-1. And I just guarantee you, the Yankees without Judge have scored 3 runs. They have the lowest batting average in all baseball without Judge. They've been averaging 3 runs per game. And it's just been a very tough watch. But speaking of Emerson, now that you mention it.
Before we pivot to Emerson, because I know where you're going to go with this real quick. We spoke before the year and in the beginning of the year about how this roster, they ran it back, which was a flawed lineup last year. It was home run or bust. No one on the team outside of Judge and LeMahieu, when he's healthy, really hit for average. And all of a sudden, we're back in the exact same spot we were. And at some point, and I know Cashman has gotten his fair share of blame here, but at some point, you have to be the one to take the sword, to fall on the sword. And Cashman, for thinking they could just run back this lineup, which was severely flawed last year, and thinking you're going to have different results because it's a new season, you're wrong. These guys aren't built to hit for average, and it's no wonder that they lose their best player, their only guy on the team that really hits for average consistently, and as a team, they have the lowest batting average in baseball. You shouldn't be surprised by that.
I mean, I have had thoughts over the past couple of days, the only way that things are going to change is if you tank, if you just bottom out and just do terrible. And I've been screaming this for years, honestly, since 2020 or 2019. They just keep running the same team back every year and expecting things to change. But if you run these guys out there, it's basically And I like Judge. I like Rizzo. Judge is obviously hurt, but Glaber Torres, the error on Sunday was like, I mean, that's just pathetic baseball. And Stan goes into the horrendous slumps. Josh Donaldson, I don't know why they made that trade. Like, I don't know. It's just, yeah. I mean, you're 100% right. Like, and I said this after they lost last year. Like, they're just going to run the same thing back. They didn't really make any changes last year. The only changes they made were re-signing Judge, which wasn't really a change. They're just
It's not a change. They're just
paying the same guy that was on the roster an extra $20+ million for the same job, and signing Carlos Rodon, who was yet to throw a pitch with the team. Those are literally the only two moves they made to change the roster.
Yeah,
and obviously that the outfield the guys are playing now. Obviously, most of those guys weren't on the team last year, but are just on the team playing now because they had nowhere else to go and no other moves to make. But whatever. It's a disgrace. And it's just unfortunate because I miss the days when ownership and management would view this as unacceptable and not run out a lineup like this against a team like the Mets in a rivalry game. It's just shameful, honestly, because you just expect more of this franchise that prides itself on history and winning and tradition, and this is not, quite frankly, not acceptable. To the national, I was just going to mention that Emerson's got a new GM in the NBA. I had never heard of this guy while we were at Emerson. Obviously, it was always about Sam Presti and Rob Hennigan. You see the Washington Wizards' new general manager is a Emerson College alum.
I did not see that. Who'd they hire?
Will Dawkins graduated.
Oh, Will got the GM job?
Do you know him?
Personally, no, but I know a lot of people who do. I had
I'm
no
shocked
idea.
You didn't know. Well, if he's your best friend, then I'm surprised you didn't know about it.
I'm texting Eli right now.
I'm sure that Eli, who's currently the video coordinator for the Philadelphia 76ers, was well aware that Emerson has a new general manager, the National Basketball Association.
So they go back to having two, which puts them at number 1 in the NBA for most general managers in the league.
Tied with Duke?
I think Duke had 2 and Emerson had 2, then they both lost 1. So I thought it was 1 for each school.
Oh, I don't know what the updated count is for that, but yeah, Emerson's got a new GM. I'm surprised. I never heard of this guy.
He was a scout for a long time. He was he was with the Thunder. He was right under Presti. He played at Emerson, I believe.
Yeah, he was a member of the 1,000 point club.
He's a Hank Smith guy. So the guy before OB, he was one of.
OB is Jim O'Brien for those who are unaware.
Yep. I'm reading right now. I totally missed that in the chaos of this past weekend. I totally missed that. But yeah, you are right. That is crazy.
Well, he's got a lot of decisions to make on his team because Bradley Beal's making like $60 million a year. Kristaps Porzingis, I believe, has either team or player option they got to decide on. So they got a lot of decisions. The Nets have a lot of decisions to make because people are floating out the idea of them getting Damian Lillard, and I think that's an absolutely atrocious idea. Damian Lillard does not make the Nets a championship caliber team. He's literally going to be making $60 million a year, I believe, in 2024, which is just absurd and not the direction I think the Nets should go. Obviously, I am not trading Mikal Bridges for Damian Lillard, so it would have to be a combination of other guys. But Damian Lillard to the Nets, what are your thoughts? Does that make any sense?
Does it make sense? Yes. Do I want them to do it? No. I think in the grand scheme of things, the Nets have an abundance of wings and no star. And in today's league, as we just saw with Miami in the finals, you can piece together wins and you can piece together gritty, tough wins in the playoffs against teams that are self-sabotaging unintentionally. But I don't think you can beat really good basketball teams consistently if you don't have multiple guys who on any given night can go out and carry the offense for stretches when other guys aren't making shots. And as much as I love Bridges, I love Claxton, I like Cam Johnson, I think the Nets have a lot of pieces. They don't have anyone who I believe, when push comes to shove in a playoff series, can carry an offense. We had Gilbert Arenas on the show today, Frank, and we were talking about the Cavs with him. And he essentially said the regular season in today's day and age of basketball is like riding a bike with training wheels. There's a lot of guys who can ride a bike with training wheels. in the league who could score 20 points when no one's playing defense. It's the second night of a back-to-back. The other team doesn't want to be there. They got a birthday party in South Beach the next night. But not a lot of people can ride a bike when it comes to matter in the playoffs. And he goes, you saw guys like Jimmy Butler for part of the postseason carry it, but he's not an alpha A-dog type 1 guy who can lead a team to a championship by himself. And you saw the other guys on Miami who had sporadic moments throughout the playoffs. You had Duncan Robinson games. You had Max Strus games. You had Gabe Vincent games. You had a Caleb Martin series, but they weren't consistent enough for when push came to shove, when they needed to outscore the Nuggets. They were not getting consistent contributions from those role guys. So I think the Nets have a roster capable of, to steal Gilbert's term, winning with training wheels. I don't think they have a guy ready to kind of right the ship or ride the motorcycle without training wheels in the playoffs. So I get why Lillard makes sense, but I don't think he's the star you trade all your assets for.
Yeah, I think the Nets, instead of taking another grand swing at something, should just have a nice, fun team that's likable, easy to root for, that is in that 6 to 9 range in the East. I think that's like a solid place to be for a couple years, and then if Mikal Bridges continues to blossom, maybe you start making moves to try to lure somebody else in here and maybe reshape the roster that way. But this whole idea of, going all in for another star when we've been there and done that, 2 times already in the last 10 years, and it's failed miserably both times, it's not really a direction that I'm super eager to go back into. It's sort of where I stand in the situation. But the Denver Nuggets didn't really go all in on any stars. They built their team kind of like the Golden State Warriors did, homegrown talent. And I'll never forget, Mike, seeing the Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray at the New Orleans airport in 2017. Jokic was just coming off his first career 40-point game against the Knicks at MSG. And like 6 years later, they're champions of the National Basketball League. I feel like this Nuggets team has true potential to like win a lot of championships, like 3 or 4. Am I crazy, or is that something that you see? Like, who's challenging them right now? Especially like in the East, like obviously the Celtics, with who knows what's going to happen with them in their future. The Bucks, everyone thinks 2021 was a fluke. You look in the West, like LeBron's going to be like 39 next year, and he's not getting any younger. The Suns, what's going to happen with Chris Paul? Durant's going to be like 35. Like, yeah. I don't know, how are they getting any better? Like, who's the team that you see? Like the Warriors, like what's going to happen with Draymond? Like, and Curry's only getting older. Like, who's the team that's going to challenge this Nuggets team, assuming they stay healthy?
I think the NBA is as open as it's ever been in a long, long time right now, in the sense that I think Denver is clear-cut the best team in the league. And you're right. I don't know who number 2 is. And I think we're going to see a chaotic offseason with a lot of general managers looking around saying, there's no clear-cut number 2. There's no definitive number 1 team in the East that is a juggernaut that we're going to save our chips for because we're not beating the KD Warriors in the West, or the LeBron, Wade, Bosh, Heat in the East, or even the Cavs teams with LeBron, Kevin Love, and Kyrie. Like, there's no alpha dog in some of these conferences outside of Denver, to where I think teams would be deterred from going and making a all-out push to get there, because health is the one thing you can't factor in. And Murray's had his issues. Porter Jr. has been hurt more than he's been healthy. Jokic has been pretty impeccable health-wise. And this core is set up, Frank, I agree with what you're saying, for longevity. Jokic is 28. Murray's 27. Porter's 26. I think Gordon's 27. Like, the majority of their core is not only young, but under contract. And that's going to be a huge factor as this new CBA unfolds and teams are being deterred from spending excess amounts of money to improve their team based on the second apron rules. So Denver's in a prime position. And Bill Simmons said it today on his podcast. I'm sure you listened to it already, Frank. But, with this new CBA and how teams are limited in what they can spend, and if they're over the certain cap space or over that certain luxury tax threshold, they can't buy out players and all that stuff. If a mid-tier free agent thinks he's worth I'm going to use an example, $18 million, right? And teams just aren't willing to go 18 because even though they can fit into the cap, it goes over the luxury tax. an $18 million contract turns into like a $30 million bill, and the owner's like, we don't want to go over that. Well, would a player take $3 million less to go win in Denver? And I think to play with Jokic, who seems to be, in my opinion, and I'd be shocked if anyone disagrees, like the single most fun superstar to play with right now. I don't know why guys wouldn't take a little discount to go play in Denver and win a ring, because they are set up for sustained success. But before you call anyone a dynasty or predict 3 of the next 4, go look at the history of the NBA. It is so damn hard to win back to back.
But this one feels different though. It just does. Like the Bucks, their postseason run, everything that could possibly have broken their way did. Like they had a lot of breaks, and they weren't necessarily the best, most talented team. But even like this playoffs, like they essentially, they beat a fully loaded Suns team with KD, Booker, Chris Paul. I was, who knows if a healthy Chris Paul would have changed the outlook of that series. They lost the first 2 games of that series. The Suns did without Paul, won the next 2. Lost the first 2 with him, won the next 2 without him. So who knows about if healthy Chris Paul, what difference he would make. Either way, I think that the Nuggets, they didn't necessarily have all these, breaks go their way. They were just the best team hands down in the playoffs. And that's why I sort of think that this is, was clearly no fluke. And like I said, I mean, who knows what's going to happen over the offseason, and obviously, Bruce Brown being a free agent, he's going to want to cash in a little bit. Who knows what's going to happen with him? But I just think those guys, Jokic and Murray, if they could just stay healthy, I just don't know unless Wembanyama and the Spurs turn into an immediate juggernaut.
Yeah.
Who that team is.
No, you're right. And Jokic right now is the question with no answer. You saw Miami, and I believe Miami has the best coaching staff in the NBA. They are as prepared as anyone. I think Spo does a good job and a better job than anyone else in the league at changing up defenses, making adjustments, changing on the fly. They played more zone than any team. They played more man. They'll switch. They'll run traps at you from different angles. They'll double. They'll triple. They'll leave you in single coverage. You never know what you're going to get from a Miami defense on a possession-to-possession basis. And no matter what puzzle piece they threw at Jokic, he solved the Rubik's Cube on the fly and made the right play. Frankel, I tweeted this out earlier today. Jokic averaged essentially 30, 13.5, and 9.5 in this postseason. His 4 primary defenders throughout this postseason: Gobert, DeAndre Ayton, Anthony Davis, Bam Adebayo. Those 4 have combined for 4 Defensive Player of the Year awards and 22 all-defensive team selections. Pick your best defensive centers in the league. That's a who's who of the best defensive big man in basketball. Ayton is the one outlier. The other 3 are 3 of the best 4. If you want to throw someone else in there, cool. But essentially, those are as good as it gets. And he averaged a 30-point triple-double in 20 games throughout the postseason against them. There's no way to slow down Jokic right now. And not only is he a great scorer, he's a great passer, probably a better playmaker than he is a scorer, and he's unselfish. And that's why guys around him thrive in a way that we haven't seen players thrive around another player in such a long time. Like, he's a traditional point guard. He's just 7 feet tall and happens to be able to score 30 points without exerting an ounce of effort.
It's crazy that guy fell in the second round. Like, he's the first second round pick to win a Finals MVP since Dennis Johnson in 1979, which is just insane.
I didn't know that. It's a great stat.
Yeah, we used it in our show last night. There's a ton. I mean, the story of Jokic and just how this guy who like I said, drafted during a Taco Bell commercial,
the big quesarito.
Like, he's talking about, like, he wants to, like, go horseback riding instead of, like, going to the parade. Like, I can't even, like, relate to the way he thinks. He's such an anomaly. I don't even know what the comparison is. And is it Tom Brady? But Brady, like, at least was a name who played, major college football. Jokic, like, came from, I don't even know where he came. Somewhere in Serbia. I mean, can you think of another NBA player from Serbia?
Their national team's pretty good, but it's a bunch of, like, random guys. Like, he's by far, I mean, Nikola Jokic was in the finals. He's Serbian. On the Heat, their first round pick this year. But yeah, like, isn't Lucas Serbian too?
Who?
Luka Doncic. He's Serbian.
Oh, Croatia.
Jokic is Croatian?
No, Jokic is from Serbia. Same country as Novak Jokic. Luka Doncic is from Croatia.
I'm looking at the Serbian national basketball team right now. All right, the 2023 Serbian team. Yeah, you're not going to know anyone besides Jokic. Yeah, you're not. You're not. Their leading scorer is Alexa Aramovich.
I mean, you see all the time in the NBA draft, especially just these teams taking flyers on these international guys that no one's ever heard of, and like 99% of the time they either last a year or two and then they go away, or we never hear from them again. But there's that 1% of the time where kind of similar to a Giannis, but that you strike gold.
Yeah, and I think. And I could be way wrong here. I'm going to spit something. I haven't even really thought of this take. I'm just throwing it out here. But do you think a lot of the successes of second round draft and stash guys who turn into legitimate players, Giannis, Jokic, was Ginobili a second round pick, late first?
Yeah.
But a lot of those kind of guys end up being European just because they don't have the exposure that a lot of these American guys do. And for like Giannis and Jokic specifically, look at their bodies today compared to where they were when they got drafted. Giannis today looks like he ate Giannis.
He looks like the Hulk.
Yeah. Jokic was thin and he was never super agile. So like we talked about on the show today, one of the guys brought up, like, how did he fall to the second round? Well, go back and look at his draft measurables, his draft workouts. Like, he was supremely skilled, but he was slow and unathletic. And it takes a one-of-a-kind generational basketball player to overcome being slow and unathletic in today's NBA. And Jokic is that one of 1 million, one of 10 million. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think we're going to see a trend where the NBA teams take 10 slow, unathletic Serbian guys or European guys this year just because, it might be the next Jokic. Like, what he does is so different and so unique, and you can't teach the feel. You can't teach the vision. You can't teach the ability to dissect the defense on the fly in real time and make the right play 96 out of 100 times like he does. So when you have a player like that, like Denver does, who's as good as he is at age 28, Frank, like, I don't know why he's going to slow down in the next 6, 7, 8 years. Like, it's not like he's going to lose his athleticism. It's not like he's going to get any slower. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know why he can't dominate the NBA for the next decade, half a decade to a decade. There's no reason he can't.
If you were to rank the best, the top 3 players in the NBA right now, is it like clearly and obviously Jokic, Giannis, Luka? Are those the top 3?
I think Giannis and Jokic would be 2-1. Jokic 1, Giannis 2. And then I think there could be a debate had around Luka, Embiid, Durant, maybe. Tatum, maybe, but probably Luka, Embiid for that third spot.
Well, you know what's crazy is, like, none of those guys are American. Like,
yeah,
we're at an age now where arguably the best 3 to 5 players are all out of not from America. I don't obviously that they could do that as the global game, and obviously all those guys are from different countries for the most part, so it's not like they're all going to be teaming up on an Olympic team.
And when you got Wemby too coming,
but that would be a great idea for a tournament. Is like, and Wembanyama, oh my god! So
well, they do USA versus the world.
But that's not a real game. That's not like a competitive game. They need to have like a real, like, legitimate, like, USA against.
Screw the playing games and screw the midseason tournament that he wants. Let's see a game. Each player wins $5 million. That's the only way you're gonna get these guys to play. It has to be.
I mean, it's never gonna happen. It's just an idea that, like, to really see, like, how good those international guys would be against the best of it. Because who would be on the American? So it would be. Your point guard would probably be what? Steph. You'd have
Steph,
Durant,
Tatum,
Lillard. You put in the starting lineup.
I'm just naming. I'm just naming.
No,
the best guys.
All right.
I'm actually making a note right now to make this a show topic later in the week. It's a great
Team
idea for a
USA,
topic.
Team USA against the world.
Yeah, and we'll do a draft. We'll draft the teams. I'm pulling up. Anthony Davis is probably your big man.
So we have Steph, Durant, AD, Tatum,
Booker.
maybe against Luka, Giannis, Jokic. You can't really have Embiid in that lineup because that's just too many tall guys.
Say it again. Giannis,
Jokic, Luka, Embiid. Is there a way to have Embiid in that lineup?
Embiid and Wemby and just go giant.
I mean, I'm trying because after those like slate of international guys. By the way, the Yankees just took the lead against the Mets. I mean, this is unfathomable. Yeah, they currently have a lead 6-5. As I just destroyed the team earlier, but they'll probably lose the game, so it'll be a moot point. I'm telling you. I got my mojo back for the time being. I'm back.
All right, I found an article. The best international. Sabonis.
Oh yeah, I mean,
is this just Europe or is this world?
No, this is world against the U.S.
Gilgeous Alexander's Canadian.
Oh, SGA, yeah.
Jamal Murray's Canadian.
Oh yeah, Murray. So you'd have Luka.
Ben Simmons.
No, stop. Luka, Murray, Giannis, Jokic. Luka, SGA,
Murray,
Giannis,
Jokic,
Murray, something like that.
Yeah,
that's a hell of a game, and that's something I would pay to watch.
Sabonis and Embiid off the bench.
That'd be great. I mean, if they can make that like legit competitive and high stakes, like I'm dialed in. That's like a lot of like national pride on the line, and like if they ever found a way to make that legit, which would never happen, it would be great.
We're gonna do this next week on the show.
Fantastic.
I'll give you
Jimmy Butler. Obviously, there's a lot of talk about, is he an actual superstar? Where does he sort of like? It's like I think Jimmy is my favorite non-net in the NBA. He almost single-handedly willed the Heat to that. I mean, obviously he was terrible for the first 3 quarters, but at the end of the game, he was just hitting everything. And then I wish in that last moment of the game, instead of just trying to pass the ball, like he's been in that spot so many times where he's in that position in the post and he just like turns around, does a little fadeaway and hits it every time, or fakes one way, goes the other way and like draws contact. I was like so surprised that he thought to give up the ball in that moment, and he turned it over, and that was essentially the game.
Yeah, Jimmy's a great dude. On top of being a good basketball player, he's a really good dude, and I respect anyone who's at that stature of their profession and is not a jerk or a piece of crap to the guys in the organization. And I can tell you firsthand, Jimmy treats everybody in Miami with the utmost respect, and he does not have to, but he does. So kudos to Jimmy for that. The last play, Jimmy wasn't great at the end. He wasn't. Pretty bad Game 7 performance.
I mean, the fourth quarter he was great, but too little, too late.
But I'm just saying, in the game, they needed a Himmy Butler performance. They got a Jimmy Butler performance. Like, he was not the guy they needed him to be to win an NBA Finals game. Now, you can say, and I heard a lot of the discussion today, can Jimmy Butler be the lead dog on a team? You know what? I don't think he can be the alpha number one guy. But in his defense, he was the alpha number one against Milwaukee and was sensational. Severely outplayed.
He was clearly hurt. He was clearly hurt. Like, he was not the same player he was.
And then he got hurt against New York, but he still was the alpha dog number one against New York. In those first 3 games against Boston, he was the dominant alpha dog. And as I mentioned earlier, Miami does not have a plethora of guys who can carry the offensive load when things break down, especially without Tyler Hero. And I think over the course of a 7-game series, a 6-game series, a 5-game series where every game was dead tight and close, and Butler was carrying so much of an offensive load, I think he just broke down late in the season. And I don't hold that against him. Like, yeah, I wish he played a little better in the finals so we don't have a sour taste of, oh, well, he wasn't very good in this finals. Yeah, but he was so freaking good in this postseason run that I'm willing to kind of excuse the fact that I just think he was gassed. I think he had no legs, and I think Frank on that last play where he jump stopped in the middle, instead of pivoting and doing the patented Jimmy Butler turnaround we've seen a million times, literally how many we've seen it a million times. Instead of doing that, I just think he had no freaking legs, zero legs, and he settled.
Or they could have called a time, like they could have called a timeout. Like he didn't have to panic, and whatever. I just wanted the extra game because it would have been a little more interesting.
I had Denver in 5, so I
think a lot of people had Denver in 5.
I did. I won a good chunk of money on that, so I was happy it ended last night. But I'm disappointed there's no more basketball. So
last thing, the Cleveland Browns released a new logo. Are they getting rid of the orange helmet and this is their new logo?
No, this is stupid.
Hey, it's not stupid.
The Browns don't have a logo. Their logo
is the orange helmet.
It's just the color brown. They don't have a logo.
Well, it's not really brown, it's orange, but yeah.
I know. Exactly. They don't have a logo. Their logo is just an empty helmet. So
I was reading about this. The Browns are named after Paul Brown.
Yes.
Which is so like it's not like ooh, what's a brown? No. There's no ooh, they're not named after anything. It's kind of a really like it's weird. And then Paul Brown left the team and the Bengals named their team after him. So like I don't understand
Frank, you know what I did my stand-up? You know how I did stand-up in February?
Oh, yeah.
My closing joke was about the Browns being just named after a color, even though they're really named after Paul Brown, and how...
Well, they're not named after a color.
Essentially, they are, though. They're just now...
No, they're not. They're named after Paul Brown, who's not a color.
But it's just a color. Like, what if we just named...
No, that's the person.
Whatever. I'm not going to say that.
It's legitimately wrong.
I know, but I'm saying, okay, you're missing you're taking this out of context here. So essentially what they're doing, or what they did was the Browns end zone where the diehard fans sit.
Dog pound.
The dog pound. So this is the official dog pound logo. So they're not getting rid of the brown helmet. They had the elf on the field last year.
Which was a joke.
Which is a joke. I don't have this confirmed. I've heard this rumored. They're going to have some sort of 32 at midfield for Jim Brown this year. That's just a rumor, nothing confirmed. I've heard that from a few people, but the Browns aren't saying anything. They're not going to put this new dog logo at midfield. It'll be on one of the end zones, like on the wall behind there. They're going to sell a bunch of dog pound merchandise with it. What it came down to was whether you want to say their logo is a helmet, whether you want to say their logo is a color, whatever it was the ugliest merchandise, and it was really hard to put that on a hat, because guess what it looks like on a hat? It's a hat, and it looks stupid. So they needed something to be able to put on merchandise so they could sell more merch, and this is what will be on their merchandise now. So
I'm very excited for it.
You do like it?
I don't know. I thought it looks like the Chicago Bears alternate logo. I just my biggest takeaway when I did my research on it yesterday was the Browns have no identity. They're named after a guy named Paul Brown. They need more character. They need more like identity. It's just like I don't think there's another team in professional sports named after a person who then left the team and another team named their stadium after. Paul Brown obviously was a successful guy and did a lot for the National Football League. But man, to have a team named after you and a stadium named after you from two different teams is pretty impressive. But
and then he left, and obviously now is part of the AFC North rivalry. So it is what it is. They have all these subliminal messages in the logo. Some of them are cool, some of them are terrible. I don't love it, but it is what it is. The fans voted on it. It was cool for the Browns to open up for the fans.
That will do it for this edition of the Lucas and Lucas podcast. You want to tune in next week for our full NBA draft preview, props, analysis. We'll tell you who's going number one. It's insight that you cannot get anywhere else but right here on the Lucas and Lucas podcast.
It's a betting lock. We guarantee you we will give you a winner on who will be the first overall pick. That is the Lucas and Lucas lock.